Hello everyone and welcome to Season 7, Episode 4 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in CHIKARA history with match number 47 on our list, which was for the CHIKARA Grand Championship between the champion Princess Kimberlee and the challenger Heidi Lovelace from the Secret of the Ooze event held on March the 19th of 2016. So for those unfamiliar, Heidi Lovelace is now Ruby Soho in AEW, formerly Ruby Riott in the WWE. This is a match that is the first match on this list to be post, restart of CHIKARA, if you will. So after the company went on hold in mid-2013 before coming back in mid-2014. After that restart, it really did, I think for myself and maybe a lot of other longtime CHIKARA fans, it did feel a bit like a different promotion. It still had its moments, but, my interest in it started to leave. A lot of new students, a lot of old familiar faces, no longer being with the company, a lot of the kind of like traveling bigger indie stars that used to make regular appearances no longer with the company. And there was just something that didn't necessarily click for me. I was probably in the minority at the time where I thought the whole kind of shutdown angle thing was kind of cool. I really liked when they did all of the Ashes videos. I thought the actual, CHIKARA is back angle that they did at National Pro Wrestling Day 2014 was amazing. I was really, really invested in all of that. I had such high hopes for the You Only Live Twice event when they came back in 2014, and just it didn't connect. They, went into this storyline with the Flood, which was supposed to be like a big, basically like super stable of all the villainous stables throughout the year, but without a lot of the major players that were in that stable, those stables, it didn't really connect with me. They had Icarus on top, and I was kind of behind them, trying to make him, the big baby face through the Ashes storyline. But as the kind of face of the company, he didn't really connect for me, and it led to me, really just kind of checking in with CHIKARA for their big shows like King of Trios, and whenever I heard, of a match that would get a lot of hype. So this is the first match after that time frame. There'll be, more throughout this. Don't get me wrong, there's some really great matches, during that time period. But this was one of those ones that did get a lot of hype when it happened. And it's a little bit of a weird match for me to watch now, because when I watched it in 2016, I thought it was fantastic. I still think it is great, hence its inclusion on this list. But there are aspects of it where, to me, they do feel a little forced. And we'll talk about that as we go. But basically, our storyline here. So Heidi Lovelace became the first female Young Lions Cup champion in CHIKARA history. She won the Young Lions Cup at the end of 2014. En route to her doing so, she defeated Princess Kimberlee in a Young Lions Cup tournament match. Fast forward a year later, the end of 2015. 2015 saw the Challenge of the Immortals series in CHIKARA, which was basically like a year-long kind of round robin with all of these randomly assembled stables that would compete for points. And basically the gimmick being whichever stable, won out the end of this round robin tournament, all of the competitors on that team would receive a golden opportunity. Basically, CHIKARA's equivalent of Money in the Bank. Here we are, 7 years after that, and, the Money in the Bank is one of my least favorite things in wrestling. I cannot explain my disappointment with the fact that AEW is essentially doing that with MJF winning the Casino Battle Royale. This is, will be a dated reference, I'm sure, if you watch this video, past the point of my initial recording of it. But at the time, they did a really good job with this. The Challenge of the Immortals, they had a great storyline involved with that, where the team of Dashers dug out, which involved Dasher Hatfield and Mr. Touchdown Mark Angelicetti. Heidi was a part of that stable. It was revealed that Mark Angelicetti had been cheating with a loaded elbow pad to get them their wins. They were in the lead for points, seemed destined to win the Challenge of the Immortals. Dasher Hatfield, being at the time, the stand-up babyface that he was, forfeited all of their wins and withdrew their team from the tournament. That allowed Princess Kimberlee's team of Queen and Court, who were last, to make this miraculous comeback leading into the season finale show in 2015, Top Banana, where they would win the challenge of the Immortals and get their golden opportunities. At the end of the night, Wicked, who was the grand champion at the time, would successfully retain the title against Eddie Kingston and Icarus in a three-way dance. And in a great, very Marvel-esque, post-credits scene, after it seemed like the show was going to end, Princess Kimberlee would come out, cash in her golden opportunity, and win the grand championship and become the first female grand champion. And really, at the time, kind of the first, big prominent female to hold a main title in what is, mostly a male-dominated promotion. So it got a ton of buzz at the time. I think people were into it, and, the crowd reacted huge. It got a lot of buzz online. And naturally, it would lead into this big time title defense for Kim, where it would be, the first time that two females would be competing for what is essentially the men's title, right? The heavyweight title in CHIKARA. And they did a great job hyping it up. And the story here is easy. Heidi's had the victory over Kim before. Heidi feels that it should have been her that, it should have been the first grand champion, just like she was with the first female Young Lions Cup champion. But unfortunately, those points in the challenge of the Immortals was forfeited. So you have a really great story. These two are friends. That's no secret coming into this match. This match was held in one of my favorite independent wrestling venues of all time, the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium that CWF Mid-Atlantic would run out of in North Carolina. In this era, I was so into CWF Mid-Atlantic and Trevor Lee and his incredible, reign as their heavyweight champion. That's some real, stuff that there's a good possibility you haven't seen. Most of it is on YouTube. You need to watch it. Just some of the most incredible, low-key independent wrestling matches you'll ever see. But that's a story for another time, maybe on this show. I don't know. But I love this venue. It always had really hot crowds, really just good crowds that love wrestling too. Very much like to cheer the baby faces and boo the heels. Lots of kids in the crowd. And it really works great for a match like this. And we have, Heidi basically playing the subtle heel throughout of this and basically saying, you're my friend, but you have what I want. And when we are between those ropes, there are no friends. I will do whatever it takes to win the title. And that's always a good, if you have a face versus face match, which, I've talked about this on the program before, I find they're kind of rare. And I feel like there's something that can be used a lot more because you can still have dynamic stories with them. And that's exactly what we got here. You kind of get that little edge to one of the competitors, and it, in a way kind of makes them a de facto heel, but it's a really great different wrinkle to a story. So this match, both are aggressive from the start. Kim, extends the hand and Heidi kicks it away. And they really waste no time here going to war. And there's these repeated, running strikes into the ropes, and Kim goes for a German suplex really early on, which is one of her bread and butter moves. They, end up spilling to the floor, and Heidi hits a really great right hand in there and drags Kim by the hair. And that really quickly establishes, that, we are no longer friends, bell to bell in this match. And Heidi Lovelace is really vocal in this match, saying a lot of things like that, telling Kimberlee sorry before she hits her. And, there's a point where Kim starts to make a bit of a comeback and is, trash talking Heidi, saying, this is what it takes to be a champion. And, Heidi gets frustrated at one point that she can't put Kim away and is yelling at her to stay down. So there's a lot of vocal stuff in this match, and that can sometimes go either way. I think they did a pretty good job with it. It maybe is just borderline a little hokey, but I'm willing to let it go. It works within the context of what they're doing. We get just really good work here. Heidi is really aggressive, really brutal. She hits some nasty kicks in this match. She really does a good job working Princess Kimberlee's neck. There's an awesome spot where Heidi goes for a Meteora off the top, and Kim does a Trish Stratus or Elix Skipper Matrix bridge to avoid it, which was really cool. And when Heidi crashes down on her knee, that gives Kim a target to start working on the knee. and finally get an advantage. So we have, the dueling limb work here. It's good. It's compelling. The crowd is really into this match, even though Heidi is kind of, the slight heel, like really riding that fine tweener line. The crowd is really split. A lot more of the younger audience, you can hear the little kid voices, behind Princess Kimberlee, and the more, vocal male adults behind Heidi, which, is kind of to be expected. Kim's gimmick at this point, she really was, supposed to be like that role model, especially for the children and the little girls, right? This princess that, can stand up on her own and her rise to the title. We got, some big spots here too. Heidi hits a big cross body to the floor at one point. One thing that, again, a double-edged sword sort of thing here. In this era, CHIKARA, and trust me, I respect trying to keep your performer safe, but whenever anybody would do a dive, like all of the, young boys and young girls and like stagehands, around ringside would all kind of run in to catch the dive. And again, how many dives have we seen go wrong over the years? So I appreciate it, but at the same time, it kind of gives this like phony sort of atmosphere to it. So I don't know, but that happens here. There's 6 people catching her dive, even though, none of them are involved in the match and really have any reason or obligation for the safety of the performer. We get, at Princess Kimberlee at one point, she unloads with like 10 German suplexes. At the time, the Brock Lesnar, like, Suplex City thing was very popular. So, it gets, like, a Suplex Kingdom chant, which was kind of cool. And each time, that Heidi gets dropped with a German, she, fights up and is begging on. And they actually do a really good job here with the commentary, where it's Mike Quackenbush on commentary. And, Kimberlee goes for the bridging German suplex, which is one of her signature holds. And, the bridge isn't the best. And, Heidi kicks out. But the commentary does such a great job basically saying, like, Kim couldn't hold that bridge because of the work on her neck. And I don't think that was intentional. I just think it wasn't the best bridge. But again, they're able to take these elements of the story throughout the match and really make them work. And it creates this, captivating experience for you as the viewer at home. One thing they do here, I mentioned this in the video the other day with Incoherence and the BDK, they send the roster out to surround the ring and pound on the mat and watch it. That, to me, in this match feels incredibly forced. They're going for this real historic match with the women in the main event, and it seemed unnecessary to me, and almost like they're really trying to be like, see, this is important. We've sent, all of the people out to watch, but there's no real reason for it. And all of the other matches in CHIKARA history where that's been used, it's because there's clear allegiances where people are coming out to support, or you have, I don't want to undermine this match, but you have like truly historic reasons for it, like, the crowning of the first grand champion, where you have all of these wrestlers, that have been through the history of CHIKARA coming out to view, and it's a really nice moment. Here, it just seemed unnecessary to me, and again, just, trying to throw some extra, fuel on that fire that wasn't needed, because this match felt like a big deal as it was. And, it actually had the adverse effect on me. It kind of like took me out of it a little bit with the cheese factor. Big near falls in this match, though. Kim, there's a great moment where she had kind of been on the up and up and really clean throughout the match, where, like I said, Heidi was kind of the more aggressive one. There's a moment where Kim just kicks out Heidi's bad knee and drops her on her head with a Gonzo bomb for 2, which was pretty wild. Heidi hits, her Heidi Rana, which is like a short Rana for 2. So they do a lot of good stuff there. Our finish, Kim tries to go for a roll-up, and Heidi counters it into the CHIKARA special, which, is the historic move throughout CHIKARA history. It's the move that Kim used to, that Heidi used to put Kim away in their Young Lions Cup match. So it's worked for her before, but Princess Kimberlee is able to quickly grab the ropes, showing that that's a move to be feared. And our finish kind of comes quickly after that. There's not a ton of build to it. But Heidi goes for the Heidi Rana once more. Kim power bombs her and then basically locks her in like a stretch that's almost like the inverted CHIKARA special that was used by Carpenter Aunt Pinky Sanchez, in late 2009, early 2010, right at the start of the BDK. And I don't know if that's what they were going for. Commentary just calls it a stretch. They don't refer to it as the inverted Chikara special, but that's basically what it is. And I kind of liked that because, the Chikara special has all of this, lore and history throughout the company. It's something to be feared, and Kimberlee knew that it was coming from Heidi because she beat her with it before, but Heidi wouldn't have expected basically the heelish kind of move, the inverted Chikara special, to put her away. So I thought that was a cool finish, even if it did come kind of quickly, didn't have a ton of build to it. We get the post-match hug and the emotions from the women and the support from the crowd and the roster at ringside. And like I said, they really do try to champion this up of, this being this big historical main event. This is a fantastic match, though I know, I critiqued it a little bit in this video, but that's what I'm here to do. But it's a lot of fun. It's hard hitting. It's got big moves. It's got a great crowd. It has that historical, kind of value to it, which I like watching now. And it's, like I said, it's one of, the gems from a period of Chikara that really didn't connect with me. I liked it at the time. It was one of the matches I sought out. I liked it just as much watching it now for this rewatch period. Like with all Chikara matches, you can find this one on independentwrestling.tv. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. And please, as always, join me again next time as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.